Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Vinny here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Charlene, and she's selling her Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Charlene, welcome to the show, and how are you doing?
I'm great, Vinny. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, thank you. Really looking forward to talking about your FBA business today. Just for our listeners' sake, I'm going to go over a very brief summary, just so we all know what we're dealing with here. So today's listing is an Amazon FBA business. It's in the office and supply niche, and it was created in August 2014. The average monthly revenue for the business is $52,999, and it makes an average of $12,673 per month in net profit. The assets that are included with this sale is the Amazon Seller Central account, along with 25 SKUs, a domain and all of the site's content and files. Also has 2 pending trademarks and supplier contracts and relationships, and there are also social media accounts attached to the business. Please note that inventory isn't normally included in the listing price, so further details can be provided to active unlockers. You can head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 48627 to learn more about the business. If you want to start your due diligence, just remember to unlock the listing first. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, Charlene, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your experience with online businesses. Can you tell me a bit about how you got into this funny world of running online businesses? Did you stumble into it? Was it recommended by a friend? How did you get started?
Okay, well, I come from family with a business background, so I've had a love of business ever since I was young, and I've always really admired people that ran their own business and secretly just always wanted to run my own. So as early as I could, which I would say early 2000s, I jumped online and I started trying to build websites and learn how to navigate through WordPress and blog, and I actually became very good at building websites. The only thing was that I couldn't get any traffic to the site, so nothing really happened. I didn't make any money there, but then I continued trying, and I would say that I had a breakthrough when my son was born, because I realized that I really had to put all my energy in trying to figure out this online stuff so that I could stay home with my son. And at that time, I had just learned about Kindle, Amazon Kindle publishing. So I invested in a course, learned how to do Amazon Kindle publishing, ended up doing very well at that. And I actually self-published, I would say, over 9 books. So that was my first introduction to making money online. And then a little bit later, Amazon started opening up fulfillment centers and offering the FBA opportunity. As soon as I heard about it, I got really excited because I saw that I would finally have a way to get in front of a lot of people, which had always been my issue up until that point, that I could create these beautiful sites. However, I couldn't really get any traffic to the site. So then I started doing some research, following a lot of the experts online or people who had actually become successful in what I wanted to do, which was Amazon FBA. Started going to a lot of webinars, taking a lot of notes, learning about all the do's and don'ts, and then eventually tried my hand at FBA business with a few products and the health and supplement niche. Did pretty good at that, started making a decent income online, and then eventually from there got into the office supplies niche, where we currently are today. So that's how I got started.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you went through quite a journey to get to where you are, for sure. And I mean, I definitely share those sentiments as well about, the thing that got you started was just seeing how other people started their own businesses and tried to satisfy that entrepreneurial bug, really, trying to make something and grow something of their own. So with online businesses specifically, why do you think that the Amazon FBA is a really good business model for people who want to get started in this industry?
Well, I think the Amazon FBA business model is amazing for newbies. Like, I can't think of anything that would be better at this time. And the reason why I say that is because there's such a low barrier to entry. Literally, you have access to the number one marketplace in the world that has billions of searches per year, hundreds of millions of people shopping on that website per year, looking for every single thing under the sun. Like, everybody's there already. So you don't have to worry about learning how to drive traffic, which is, I can speak from experience, is the hardest thing to learn how to do, or it's basically the number one thing you need for your business. It doesn't matter how great your idea is, how great your website is, how great your product is. If you can't get traffic to that, it's dead in the water. And without something like FBA, you either have to go organically to get that traffic, which might take a lot of time. And especially when you're new, when something's taking a long time for you to see any kind of success, it can become very discouraging, and it's easy for a person to quit that way. Or you can do the fast track, which is buy paid traffic, but then you could easily lose your shirt with that. So Amazon is excellent because it gives people an opportunity to get involved in that space. You don't have to spend an incredible amount of money. You might end up spending what you would have on ads trying to drive traffic to a website without any guarantees. You might spend that on an initial buy a product and just launching a certain amount of that product to see if it will sell. And you can literally make money on day one. Now, one thing that I really like about the Amazon FBA opportunity as well is that over the years, there's been a lot of developers of some really cool tools that really help sellers in general, but would be especially good for newbies to really delve down and be able to see exactly what people are looking for on Amazon, to see how many sellers are currently in that niche, how competitive it is. Like, you literally have certain tools, like for instance, the Jungle Scout is a very popular Amazon FBA tool that will almost literally tell you, okay, go ahead, this is a good product to try to sell. This one is terrible, don't do it. It's too many people selling. It would be really hard for you to rank for this. And so that is invaluable. And I think that's what makes it such an awesome opportunity for newbies. Like, there's just no comparison out there. Like, all the traffic's there, all the tools are there. It's just a matter of having the will, learning some of the skills, studying some of the tools, and just going for it, basically. So there's been a lot of success stories, and obviously we're one of them, and I couldn't be more grateful about that Amazon FBA opportunity.
Yeah, that's a very complete answer. I think that sounds like it ticks a lot of the right boxes for you, for sure. I just want to bring it back now to your current business, or the one that we're talking about today. So it's in the office and supply niche. Why did you choose to set up a business in this niche in particular?
Okay, well, I really like the office supplies niche because there are a lot of categories in that niche. And a lot of the categories are evergreen, so they do well at any time of the year. And I find that also when we got into the office supply niche, we found that there were a lot of underserved categories in that niche because it's so huge. There are even little micro niches within the niches that you can find in the office supplies category, a lot of underserved niches where you can literally come in there and dominate, or maybe in our case, some of the products that were in those categories were kind of poor quality. We could read the reviews and see that there were a lot of complaints about how those products were being handled or being presented to the customer. And we were able to go in there and just over deliver and provide like great quality, exceptional customer service, sort of remedy some of those complaints and just really make a name for ourselves in those niches and micro niches.
Fantastic. Okay. All of our listeners will be wondering, because you've grown the business to where it is now and it seems to be it's obviously profitable, but why are you selling the business instead of continuing to run it?
Well, to be honest, there are a few new projects that I really want to pursue, and I just need the capital in order to fund those new projects. I'm really a creative person at heart, so in all my spare time, I make jewelry, I make different types of health and beauty products that I make at home, and I love to cook and do a lot of these creative things. Like, this is where my heart really lies. So I definitely think I'm at the point where I want to pursue my creative passions. In addition to that, I also want to get into a lot more volunteering and charity work. So, just a new stage of life.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I think selling the business would definitely give you, obviously, the capital, but also just free up the time for you to go and pursue those, like you say, those passion projects, for sure. I just want to touch on what you learned while you were running the business. So was there anything that while you were building this FBA business, was there anything that you tried that didn't really work, that didn't really come off?
Yeah, I would say that trying to just sort of randomly sell something that you might have had like a bright idea about, or something that you like or you would love, and you just assume everybody would love it without actually doing the research and getting the data. That's vital to sell successfully on FBA, is you have to have the data to back up what you're about to do. You can't just buy a bunch of stuff and you think it's going to sell, and you will get disappointed. So I've been in that position before. And then also another thing that is very important to do is to just make sure you always get samples of anything that you want to sell, because it may look good online or it may look good in pictures and images, but actually getting a physical sample of that thing is very, very crucial. A couple of times I didn't do that and it didn't end well. So I learned from that mistake and I make sure that I always do it. It's just that sometimes you're so eager, especially if there's a new trend, a new opportunity, you want to jump on that. You're so eager not to miss the boat, so to speak, that sometimes you might rush into it and just to try to get the product out as quick as possible. But it's better to just make informed decision, slow down a bit, take your time, make sure you actually have the product in your hand. You can see the quality and everything, the workmanship, before you actually invest in that product, and also put that product in front of potential customers, because it could end disastrously if you don't do that.
Yeah, I think I totally understand. Shiny object syndrome is definitely, the bane of all entrepreneurs' existence, right? Like you say, you see something that you suddenly think, it just sows a seed in the back of your mind, and you suddenly think to yourself, oh, what if that's going to work on mine? Like you say, I don't want to miss the boat, and I think a lot of times it can lead to quite rash decisions where you push out a product before you've actually properly researched it and stuff. And that's a really smart tip, ordering a sample to make sure that you can actually check the quality of the product. And I guess it buys you that bit of buffer time as well to actually have the product in front of you and actually, really figure out whether it's going to be suitable for your brand and everything. So that's a really good tip. I was just going to flip that on its head basically and then ask you, so what did you try that did work for your business?
Well, what worked is really investing in certain tools, also investing in education. Like, that was huge for success in this business. Like when we first started this business, because my husband is my partner as well. I'm in the business. So when we first started this business, we didn't know that much. But the good thing was FBA was very new. So there were a lot of gurus, so to speak, or different people who had sort of had a lot more experience, or they had a year more experience or 2 years more experience. And so they had seen some success, so there were a lot of people out there that created courses for people to follow for FBA. And then there were a lot of success stories that came out of those courses. So one thing that I used to do was I would always sign up for every single webinar that had to do with Amazon FBA. I called it my webinar jacking and then just go from webinar to webinar and I would listen to what's new. I would listen to about all the Amazon FBA policies, what was working, what wasn't working, new strategies to try. And I would always get enough tidbits out of those webinars to apply at least one new strategy to what I was doing. And I started that way, just applying that new strategy. So whether it was something about keywords, something about the title, something about the description, the bullet points, I would start applying all these strategies and just started to see like tremendous growth in sales and success. So education was definitely vital. And then of course, once we build up enough cash flow and money, I could actually start, maybe purchasing some of these courses for a more in-depth strategy, for succeeding in FBA. And I would say also another major thing is, I did mention before, but just to sort of go into that more, investing in the right tools. So I always have a budget. We always have a budget for investing in tools to make our Amazon business grow. I mentioned one of them earlier, which is Jungle Scout, which was and is invaluable to our business because it helped us get into a lot of great categories that we're in now. It also helps us to keep an eye on our business and see what's happening in those categories. How many new people are there? What are the competitors looking like? Are the competitors trying anything new that we're not doing? Keyword inspector is another good one. Merchant words is good. And I use all these tools. They're just invaluable. Like, I don't know what I would do without these tools. They just save you a ton of time, where you would just have to do all the legwork yourself, trying to, figure out what's ranking, what's selling, what's hot right now. And they just take all the work out of it for you. And it's just awesome. So the education and definitely the tools that we have 100% contributed to this success.
Yeah, I think you said something really interesting there. It sounds like you took more of a lifelong learner approach, as you were growing this business, because you were mentioning about dipping into all these different webinars and basically trying to get, glean at least one nugget of information that you can actually apply to your business, and then going off and actually doing it, and also basically learning on the job, right? Which is definitely always a good approach, especially with online businesses, for sure. Like you say, when you're starting off, there's bound to be loads of stuff that you just don't really know. So it sounds like that approach has really worked quite well for you. I just want to touch now on the marketing side of things, Charlene, because you mentioned about Jungle Scout, which is a great tool for keyword research and products research and stuff like that. What do you currently do in terms of marketing for the business?
Well, to be very honest, most of our marketing is just still strictly Amazon PPC. And one of the reasons for that is Amazon offers like really just a suite of their own tools that you can use to improve your business. And if you sort of just drill down and focus on becoming efficient at using those tools, they have Amazon PPC, they have display ads, they have Amazon brand ads. Like, there's so many different types of ads that they offer, and So our strategy is to try to master that, because if you master that, you can really explode your business. I just find that, you kind of distract or spread yourself thin a little bit if you start looking at all of these outside ways of promoting your business. And of course, it depends on how many people you have on your team. A lot of times it was just me and my husband. So we would really spread ourselves thin. If I started looking into Facebook ads and Instagram ads and, and Snapchat, Pinterest ads, or trying to drive traffic to the listing organically, I feel like all that time that I would have to spend doing that would be better served just learning how to master Amazon PPC. Because if you do that and you do that well, you can explode your business a lot better and a lot faster than even those online marketing options, right? And it probably won't lose your shirt on it because you have a lot more experience with Amazon, and at least you know that the buyers are already on that site and they're going to see your product on that site, and either they're going to click the link or they're not. And if they click the link, that's the only time you get charged. Whereas if you do Facebook ads, they might click that link, you get charged, and they might bounce right back, hit the back button and bounce right back onto Facebook. And so you've paid that money, but you haven't really gotten a shot at showing that customer your detail page or your listing page. So to answer your question, yeah, Amazon PPC. And I would say master that first before you go anywhere else.
That's great. We're going to touch a bit more about the type of skills you need to learn for this particular business, but I just want to ask you about how much time do you spend on the business and what's the type of work that you do, because Amazon FBA tends to have a lot of different moving parts to it. So like on a day-to-day basis or even a weekly basis, can you just talk a bit about the type of work that you do?
Sure. Well, on a weekly basis, I would say we probably spend about, in true work hours, about maybe 15 to 20, depending on what's happening. So 15 hours if there's no logistics involved during that time. And I mean by logistics means we just made a big order of something. And so we have to order, we have to make sure quality control is done properly, make sure all the shipping and the packaging and everything is, keep in contact with the supplier, just to make sure that all of that's being done properly. And then after it's being shipped, just sort of tracking it to make sure everything's okay. 80% of our products are made in the USA, which is great. But for the 20% that is not, that comes from overseas. And there are some logistics involved with that at warehouses and then the Amazon pickups, etc. So when that's happening, we probably work an extra 10 hours that week. But when that's not happening, 15 hours a week can suffice to just, maintain the business. Now, if we want to do extra, which a lot of times we do in terms of not really every day, but maybe a couple times a week, just looking at our listings, seeing if anything can improve, checking out the competition, seeing what they're doing, looking at any opportunities that might be new in the niche that we didn't see before. So that's sort of just extra stuff to see if we can improve the business even more. So that's it. But the 15 hours is mostly checking the customer inquiries, making sure that the customer is happy and that the customer is served, because that is the number one thing that has really made our business successful, has really made our company, I believe, stand apart from competitors. And after all of these years, we've been able to maintain our prices, and in some respects, sometimes we have higher prices than our competitors and we're still able to outsell them. And the reason why that is because over the last 6 years, we've built up a tremendous customer experience, and we just make sure to put our customers first. And we've been rewarded for that. Like, we have thousands of, 5-star reviews, thousands of 5-star feedback. And also, I guess the biggest reward is that about 80% of our SKUs are all Amazon's choice.
Fantastic. So it sounds like all your efforts are definitely paying off. So I just want to take a small step backwards. Let's just imagine that I'm someone who's really interested in buying your business, but I am not familiar with Amazon FBA at all, and especially not with the office and supply niche. What would you recommend as some of the skills, or what knowledge would you reckon I should brush up on and learn in order to be able to step in and keep running the business?
Well, I would have the new buyer, if the new buyer didn't have the experience, the first thing to do is just to understand about Amazon FBA, understand everything about it, because there are obviously pros which far outweigh the cons, but there are pros and cons to Amazon FBA. The pros, obviously, that it's a huge marketplace, you have all the traffic, and if you educate yourself, look at the data, find an opportunity, you could do extremely well. Some of the cons are that some of the freedoms you would have with your own website, you lose that with Amazon FBA, meaning that you sort of have to follow their lead. Like, they might change a policy, or they might create a new rule or regulations, and you really have to stay up on that, and you have to know what those are. Because, for instance, I can give you an example. Like, when we first started in FBA, you could pretty much put anything up there as your image. You could put words on your image, you put icons, logos, and people did that to really brand their images and brand their business. And suddenly Amazon said, okay, you can't do that anymore. It has to be clean. You can't have any brands, logos, text. So you might just come and see that your image is gone, right? And not know why your image has disappeared. And that's because Amazon had a new policy. So just understanding about FBA, understanding how it works, understanding the policies, understanding that Amazon really values their customer first and foremost above anything. So if you come into the space to be an Amazon seller and you sort of take on that same posture that, okay, I'm going to value these customers as well, I'm going to do everything to make sure these customers are satisfied, I find that Amazon will reward you for that. I would also suggest to a newbie that you educate yourself just about what makes a successful Amazon business. And I would probably listen to some of the success stories out there, learn from those people, learn from their successes and failures. When you do that, there's a lot of things that you might just hastily do on your own that, you'll hear them say, okay, don't do this, don't do that. I mean, there's a plethora of videos on YouTube that, the 10 biggest mistakes people make in FBA, or 10 things you should never do if you sell on Amazon. Like, there's so much content out there that you can just educate yourself for free. You don't just stop with the YouTube videos on do's and don'ts for Amazon. And then finally, I would definitely encourage anybody that's new to just invest in some of the tools that will save you time. Jungle Scout is a great one, and that pretty much everybody knows about that. That will save you a lot of time and energy and will help you create an outstanding listing. I think Jungle Scout has really improved their software over the years, and I think now even a part of their software will actually look at your listing for you. Like, you can connect your listing to their software and they'll look at your listing for you and they'll tell you, like, they'll give it a score, right? And let's say the score is out of 10 and you get 5, they'll tell you exactly what you need to improve to get your listing up to a score of 10. So definitely worth the investment. And yeah, so that's my advice, is the education, understanding about Amazon, paying attention to their policies and what they want, the education, and investing in tools that help make your Amazon business run smoothly.
Great, that's some solid advice there. Thanks for sharing, Charlene. I just want to talk about the opportunities for this current business now. I mean, if you were to stay with the business, what would be some of the ways that you would try to grow it? What would you say are some of the major opportunities for growth?
Well, I think some of the major opportunities, if we were to stay in the business, is we do have a lot of very popular products. As I said, 80% of our products are Amazon's choice. I think what we would do is start bundling some of these best-selling SKUs together just to offer the customer sort of another even greater experience, and maybe discount some of these bundles. So instead of offering them individually at a certain price, if they purchase them together, they would sort of get a price break. So definitely bundles is something we would look at. Also expanding to different marketplace. Again, I always think that Amazon US is the epicenter of everything, that a person should master Amazon US first before you start moving all over the place to other marketplaces. Because again, you can spread yourself very thin when you haven't even achieved success in the place where the majority of the traffic and the majority of the buyers and the majority of the money is to be made, right? So definitely try to master that first. But in our case, because we've been so successful there, I think now we would be ready to enter other marketplaces such as Japan or maybe even Mexico.
Great. Okay, so it sounds like expanding to different marketplaces seems to be at least the first step to grow for this one, which is great to know. I want to talk about the risks, because obviously all businesses have their inherent risks. What would you describe, some of the biggest risks with this particular business that a buyer should be aware of?
Well, I would just go back to, a buyer has to know that if you're a seller on Amazon FBA, it can be extremely lucrative, like beyond your wildest dreams. It can, but you're still beholden to Amazon at the end of the day, right? So, if they have certain rules, certain regulations, they make sudden changes, that can affect your business, right? And you have to be aware of that and sort of take it with a grain of salt because it comes with the territory. For instance, right now, because of COVID-19, Amazon is restricting the amount of inventory that sellers can send in currently. So that's sort of, that's a little bit annoying, right? Because you're used to sending, especially if you're a high volume seller, you're used to sending in, thousands and thousands of units at a time so that you don't run out. Now with this new policy, because of COVID-19, and I'm hoping it won't last much longer, you're almost required to run out before you can send more in, right? So that's something that is affecting all sellers across the board right now, and just something that we're hoping will be very temporary and they'll switch it back to the way it was, because based on your seller performance, that determines how much you're allowed to send into the Amazon fulfillment centers. And for years, because we've had such excellent performance, we've always had unlimited everything, unlimited regular storage, unlimited oversized storage, and sending in inventory has never been an issue until now, when Amazon has had this reduction because of COVID-19. So that's just an example of something that Amazon can change that will affect your business. But with that being said, the pros still far outweigh the cons of this business opportunity.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, seems to be the issue with a lot of these, like you say, internet giants. Like you say, it comes with the territory. If they change their terms or conditions overnight, then yeah, it's worth bearing in mind to brace yourself for that impact, definitely. There's just a few last wrap-up questions for you here, Charlene. How much support are you offering buyers? Is it the standard 30 days of email and call support, or?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. And are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
Yes, of course.
Great. And are you open to negotiating something like an earnout?
Well, at this time, we would just prefer to have an upfront cash sale.
Okay, good to know. So last question for you, just to wrap up the interview. If you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, you're looking at this business, why do you think that this FBA business is worth buying?
Well, I think it's worth buying because it's well established over 6 years, and the customers have given like tremendous feedback, tremendous reviews, like into the thousands. And this business has been able to create an incredible customer experience and also become very successful and be rewarded by Amazon as being like Amazon's choice for many of the SKUs. And I would say the system that we have put in place for this business is exceptional, meaning that we put in place a process by which this business can be like completely hands off. So we've worked on that system over the years to make this business completely hands off. So any new buyer would be able to sort of just start out at that point where they would know that everything would be taken care of. We have incredible people all along the way, and this buyer would not be starting from scratch at all. They would be in an amazing position. I also believe there's an incredible upside to this business. It has incredible potential for growth. And my final point would be that there's never been a better time to get into e-commerce than right now. Since COVID-19, e-commerce has completely soared, and people who never even bought one item online, a lot of those people are now shopping online. And even when the pandemic is over, a lot of those people will not be going back to what they used to do before, because now they've discovered a whole new way to shop. And if they're shopping on Amazon, a whole new amount of convenience, since Amazon can get things to you as quickly as the same day. So that's pretty amazing. So it's an amazing time to get into e-commerce, and what better way to get in than by buying, a business that's already established, makes excellent revenue. Amazon favors the business, and customers basically love the business. It's well known, searchable on Amazon, and I just think it's an excellent opportunity.
Great, thanks for sharing. I was going to say, last note, is there anything that you'd like to share that you think I might have missed during the interview?
Well, maybe just probably what motivates us to keep going, or what motivates me to keep going with this business every day, I would say, is just the passion that I have to deliver a tremendous experience to customers and anybody that's engaging with our products. Also, I like the idea of holding my own destiny in my hand, with this kind of business, FBA or any kind of online business. The amount of effort you put into the business, the amount of education, the amount of energy, the amount that you give is exactly, in accordance to what you're going to end up getting back. Or basically what you give is what you get. So I really like that. There are no ceilings. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm just like a regular job that you go to and you work every day. There are certain jobs where you can give 200%, 300%, 400%. It doesn't matter. You're not getting paid more. You're not getting any more money because, there's like a ceiling there, right? And the number one thing I love about being an entrepreneur and selling online, and particularly selling with FBA, is that that's not the case. Like, you can blow through that ceiling, like every month, every few months, every year, you can completely blow through that ceiling. And, I've watched that happen with my own business, and it's just been amazing. Like, it's amazing to see that. It's amazing to see that exponential growth that you can literally, keep doubling your money every few years. Like, it's just amazing to see that. So there's nowhere else that you can do something like that. So that's what's really exciting. And, just a learning experience. Like, just every day is a learning experience when you're an entrepreneur. There's never really a dull moment, and, you can just experience tremendous growth as a business person and as an individual. And I continue to educate myself about business, about being an entrepreneur, and continue to push myself and continue to have goals about where I want this business to go and what I want this business to represent, as well as just doing my own individual self-development to arm myself with the correct attitude and, just the motivation I need to keep going, at all times. So that's it.
I think that's a really good point there with the online businesses. You make a good point. There's definitely a high ceiling. You kind of reap what you sow, really, and you can invest a lot of time and energy and continue to build profitable assets, especially like the one that we're talking about today. And I guess it's always good that you can find something that you're passionate about, because that gives you the drive and motivation to continue investing in it and finding new ways to grow your assets. So that's a really good point. Charlene, that's basically the end of our interview for today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, Vinny. It was my pleasure.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 48627. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description and you can go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked the listing, you'll be given everything that you need to know about the business. Until next time, enjoy your digital journey.